Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar. This is a regional webinar to introduce the Making Cities Resilient 2030 program. My name is Steve Gawler. I'm the Regional Director of ICLEI Oceania. And ICLEI is one of the proud co-organisers of this webinar, along with UCLG and obviously United Nations Disaster Office. So welcome everyone. I notice we've got a very large number of people registered, so we're expecting quite a crowd today. The main aim of today's webinar is to introduce the new Making Cities Resilient 2030 initiative, and excuse me if I occasionally shorten that to MCR2030, to explain how you can join this, how you can access the services from the program, and to start looking at different ways that the cities have sought to build their resilience by harnessing the power of MCR2030. Before we go into the program, just a few of the technical details for today's webinar. You'll notice that we are recording, so please note that the program will be recorded and it will be put up onto the events page after the event. Because it's such a large number, we do have everyone muted and your cameras off. So we encourage you to ask questions on the way through the program, but can you use the Q&A button, please, rather than the chat function. So if you use the Q&A, we'll keep an eye on that. Do our best to answer some of the questions as we go through. If there's any time at the end, we may be able to answer some more, but there won't be a lot of time at the end for an interactive session. So the way we're going to work through the program, and could we have the second slide, please? Thank you. The opening will be done by our two co-chairs for the Regional Coordination Committee, and that'll be Mr. Marco Toscano Rivalta and then Mr. Amani Kumar. Excuse me while I turn my page. We'll then be hearing from Dr. Donadia Chandrawari, who will take us through the details of the MCR 2030. After that, we're going to look at what some cities are already doing. So we have three speakers from cities around the region. Then we'll have a look at a national approach, and that will come from the Indonesian National Disaster Agency. And then a very interesting presentation on how this work, this disaster resilience, fits into the broader urban resilience agenda. And finally, Mutarika from the UNDRR is going to step us through how to join, what the steps are that the cities work through, and how the whole structure of Making Cities Resilient 2030 works. So that's the way the program is going to unfold. It'll take us best part of 90 minutes. And I see more and more people are joining from all parts of the world, I think, so that's fantastic. So that's the overview. Again, please use the Q&A button when you would like to join in with questions. And now I'd like to turn to our first speaker, and Mr. Marco Toscano Rivalta is the Chief of the UNDRR Regional Office for Asia Pacific. Marco, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve, for opening this important webinar and taking us through the exciting program of today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is really with a great pleasure that I welcome you to join this webinar on the Making Cities Resilient 2030 initiative. It has been over 10 years since UNDRR launched the original MCR campaign in 2010. At that time, it was not really envisioned that a 10 years program would unfold, but in fact, the strong demand from cities for support in building resilience helped it grow to finally include over 4,000 cities around the world. With that legacy and the lessons learned over a decade, the Making Cities Resilient 2030 initiative was developed in consultation with cities and partners to only continue basically the work on the previous campaign, and in addition, to expand it even further. And that is really the core element of this. It's creating a very wide network. After all, cities and municipalities are where disasters are mostly acutely felt. And in line with the growing trend of over 20 years of more expensive and numerous disasters, cities have felt the brunt of these impacts, and we see it on a daily basis. And it is indeed at the local level where risk is built and must be addressed. The Sendai framework is very clear in stating that, and I quote, while the drivers of disaster risk may be local, national, regional, or global in scope, disaster risks have local and specific characteristics that must be understood for the determination of measures to reduce disaster risk. So the indication from the Sendai framework is absolutely clear on where we need to focus and the importance of the action at the local level. Climate change is one large driver of risk, but urbanization and increase in population densities can lead to the creation of new risks, especially when urbanization is poorly planned and occurring in a context of widespread poverty and inequality. And you all know this, all you that are present today are very familiar with this. The COVID-19 pandemic is a clear example of a disaster that has impacted urban areas and especially vulnerable populations, including the poor, migrants, and the elderly. What these multiple and diverse risks point to is the need for comprehensive risk management and preparedness against all forms of hazards. And this is really key. The hazard by hazard management of risk is no longer an option, in fact. And we have learned the hard way through the COVID pandemic. MCR2030 breaks this down into simple stages and offers cities guidance, tools, and supports provided by UNDRR and initiatives partners to help cities move along a resilience roadmap, which starts with cities understanding the risk, to planning against them, and finally, implementing measures to address and respond to them. At the heart of the MCR 2030 is cooperation. The intention to create opportunities for demand and supply to meet through initiatives which are tailored to local needs. It embodies the Sendai principle that DRI is a shared responsibility across all stakeholders. And this is the kickoff year of these 10-year initiatives. We intend to use these years to increase awareness of the initiatives and its added value, promote sign up, and then, of course, recruit more partners. By the end of the year, we hope to have a critical mass of cities and partners signed up to start next year delivering with partners the capacity building and technical support that cities need to move along the resilience roadmap. That is why it is important that every city that wants to build its resilience sign up now to signal their commitment, readiness, and determination to embark on this important journey. Cities that sign up now can already use the MCR 2030 dashboard, which you will be hearing about it a little bit more later today. And this dashboard really enables the access to a variety of tools and services. There are no restrictions on the types of sites and cities that can join these initiatives. The only requirement really is that cities declare their commitment to urban resilience. We hope that by the end of this webinar, you will see the value of signing up and will join us in building a more resilient, sustainable, inclusive, and safer urban future. With this, I really welcome you on board and thank you for being here today. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Marco. A very good start. And I'm very pleased to hand over now to my colleague and good friend, Mr. Amani Kumar. Kumar wears quite a few hats as well. He's the Deputy Secretary General of ICLEI Global. Kumar is also the Executive Director for ICLEI's South Asia office and co-chair of the Regional Coordinating Committee. So Kumar, over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, good afternoon to all the participants. Good morning, Marco. Good morning, Bernardia. Good to see you with us here. Friends, I just saw that the number here, the participants, there are more than 300, 327 is what it is showing me here. we all, I hope all of us are from Asia Pacific region. And we all know we are sitting in each one of us in one city, hopefully. That is what I'm saying, not that 2-3 people from each city, even if that is also okay. So as Marco said, that we want to see our cities more resilient. We want to see our cities more to address the resiliency and also disaster risk. Who will not? Like, we all want our cities to be more safe. And this is an occasion what we are giving to you. And this is a ask what we are asking you, all of you. If you go back to your cities, if you are from the city government, please contact us immediately. If you are not, please go back to your city, find out whether you are part of UNDRR's MCR2030 or not. If they are not, you ask them to contact us, contact me or Marco or Steve or whoever. Like, so we will show you all the details where it is and how the city can benefit out of this MCR2030. We want to make all our cities climate resilient, disaster risk free by end of 2030. At the same time, it's not that our commitment we are giving, as Marco said, that we have tools, we have dashboard, we have methodologies. We also looking for finances to bring to your cities. If your city is not, don't have money, we are here to help you out also to get some money to make sure the action happens on ground on that. So I want you, and maybe I request all of you, I'm seeing the number is growing now, it's 333. If you can pledge today through this workshop, and maybe I would ask Omar or UNDR or colleagues to send each one of them, like whoever is registered, the link of MCR2030, and so that they can commit as a participant. This is a simple thing you have to do. You can do it. I think I hope you can do that to bring that. I didn't heard Marco saying that we have a target of more than 300 cities this year because globally UNDRR wants to bring 1,000 cities signed up, committed to MCR2030. But we ourselves from the Asia Pacific region, which is actually the more disaster prone areas, we are more populous areas in more populous cities. 25 out of the 40 odd mega cities are in Asia Pacific region itself. So we want to make sure our cities, our lives are more risk prone. And we are committed to resilience. We are committed to disaster risk free, and we are committed to safe environment. And as Marco also said, that COVID has brought in more problems to the city governments. We are only working towards climate resilience and disaster risks, but COVID is another disaster added to that, which we were all not thought about it 2 years back on that. It's not going to go down also. Maybe we have to live with that. But how do we make our cities more resilient in this particular thing? So as a co-chair, I am asking each one of you, 341 is now the number again, and it's growing and growing. Each one of you, please commit, please bring your cities on board with us. And we are making a commitment from our side as a co-chair of MCR2030. I'm committing from UNDRR side that we will help your city to come out with an action plan, to implement an action plan, to get maybe finances if they need, and we will make sure your city is safe, and you are safe, and your citizens are safe, and your families are safe. So with this few words, I just want to stop here. As Steve said, we have, as an ICLEI network, we have more than 200 odd cities as our members in Asia Pacific region. And I have committed on behalf of all MCR ICLEI members, we will bring them up on board as soon as possible, and we will take it forward. And I hope, I wish you will also come on board with us and help your city to make more resilient. Thank you. Thanks with this, and back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Kumar. And by the way, we have noted the comment that the volume was a bit too low for that last presentation. So we'll keep an eye on the volume for the next speakers. And as Kumar has pointed out, ICLEI has really had a long time involvement with UNDRR and the earlier Making Cities Resilient campaign. My own office has been quite involved in conducting Sendai scorecard workshops throughout the Pacific, and even testing one of the earlier Hyogo scorecards in Indonesia. So from the ICLEI point of view, it's great to see the new generation making cities resilient. The other partner, of course, the other major partner is United Cities and Local Governments. And so we're very pleased now to welcome Dr. Bernadia Irawati Chandradewi, who is the Secretary General for UCLG Asia Pacific. Bernadia is going to help us to understand just exactly how the MCR 2030 is structured. So Bernadia, over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. Good morning, good afternoon. Greetings from Jakarta, Secretariat of UCLG ASPAC. Hi, Marco. Hi, Emani. And dear ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a very good moment since this is launching of this MCR 2030, talking about making our cities safe and resilient, and we all have responsibility in making our cities safe and resilient. And of course, we have to be blessed that we could still meet despite the pandemic. I heard that one of the speakers also got a COVID positive, Dr. Raditya. So let's also pray he will have a quick recovery. But this kind of disasters, this kind of crisis really need our attention much more, because we know that our region, Asia Pacific, is prone region. If we look at the number of natural disasters, actually this region, is affected 4 times than African region, and more than 20 times of European region. So this is why I'm so happy that we have a lot of participants. I was told that the number of registered participants, they have more than 1,000 registered participants. So this is a very, very good that we can have not only in terms of number of participations, but also hopefully all of you will be able to join the campaigns. Of course, this should be registered by cities or sub-national governments. So let me show a slide here. And of course, we also look forward to having any questions from you related to this campaign. So this Making Cities Resilient 2030 is a new generation of the previous campaign that has several objectives. I can highlight here 3 things that we should know about this campaign in the next slide. The first is know better. Know better about your cities, know better about your regions, know better about what risks do you have. And the second is about plan better, because if we can plan better, all those risks, all those kind of potential disasters or shock and stresses can be integrated in the local plans. So this hopefully can enhance your resiliency, your city resiliency. So the third major word that I like to say here is implement better. Implement better. We have a good plan. We know our risks. We know how to reduce risks. We make a good plans. The important is about implementation, about execution. So this is why this implement better is the objective of the MCR 2030. So know better about the risks, plan better, and the important is implement better. And we also have a cross-cutting objectives of this campaign, which is strengthening the vertical links between local governments with national governments. So I'm happy that we also have national government representatives here, because we know that local government has several limitations. So we need to have a strong vertical links. So we also need to strengthen the horizontal links among local partners, but we also have to think of horizontal links among the units in the local government itself. So not only among the partners, but also within the local governments themselves. So the third cross-cutting objective is the connecting cities with cities to learn and share. I think this is a beauty of having city-to-city sharing, city-to-city cooperation, because we can also get inspired by other cities that have been doing better in the field or in these issues on the sector. So next. In the next slide, so MCR 2030 includes several components, a resilient roadmap for cities important is, of course, to have commitment. So the first thing is commitment of a time and how to improve local resilience. And the second is global partnership. I will share later on several partners at the global level as well as in the regional level. That can also provide expertise and networks across urban resiliency. And then regional networks, some of the actors that have also good cooperation and also experience in implementing this resiliency. And then a governance structure. This is also to support, connect, and facilitate resilient building, and offer a range of tools, services, including peer learning and knowledge exchange among cities. So, suite of services, tools, and knowledge guidance that cities can also access. And this is also to help improve the city's understanding on risk reduction and resilient building. And online dashboard, this will be also is provided there, and registry to find potential special service providers. So in the next slide, you can see that, so there are 3 stages here: stage A cities, stage B cities, stage C cities. So each stage refer to what I said earlier about know better, plan better, and implement better. So cities who has expressed commitment, and this will be included in the stage A city, commitment to move along the pathway to develop and implement a DRR and resilience strategy. So cities that are committed, cities that are also ready to advocate, cities that are ready to plan and ready to implement, that will be put under stage A cities. The stage B cities is express commitment to move towards development and also have ensured that resiliency are included in the plans, and there's also mainstreams in the all sectors in the cities. In the government, local government. So in the state CTC, commitment to implement and mainstream DRR and to share experience, of course, to implement what is already committed, what is already planned. So these have, of course, good enabling national local linkages. We need also to understand what potential partnerships that can be developed within the cities and also across the cities. So in this, can we move to the next slide? So the key steps on the resilient journey and MCR 2030 are help cities access, help cities self-assessment, do a self-assessment, how far along the journey to create resiliency. So this stage A, stage B, stage C, and also ask city to commit to change. This is why we are happy that several participants are mayors as well. So I think this is good that the commitment from the city leaders is crucial in joining the campaign. And also cities provide the resources, context, and tools that are appropriate to that city stage and journey. So support city progress through resilient journey. In the next slide, you can see here a global partner. So this is a joint kind of alliance or partnerships, UNDRR, UCLG at the global level, as well as ICLE. So these are the core partners. You can see already several logos there. And then the core partners will contribute, give a time, they are giving their knowledge and effort to support members of the global, as part of the global coordinating committee, and to be involved in supporting the 12 thematic areas of the MCR 2030, and also support MCR 2030 at the strategic level, giving also the importance of providing high-level inputs to ensure the strategy stays on track. And then, of course, actively support MCR 2030 by serving as a peer reviews, mentors, and playing. So you can look at that logos, and then you can also receive support from those global partners. There are also several regional partners, like in the next slide, you can see supporting regional entities. That support is provided for regional coverage. This include also several agencies that have experience, several agencies that are ready to support cities in making the effort of creating resiliency. Also, we have development agency, non-governmental organizations, civil society. This is to show that this campaign is not just about local governments. These campaigns requires strong support from all stakeholders, including CSOs, as well as academician, research institution, media, and others. So, and also regional coordinating committee helps coordinate among supporting partners. So I think this is a very beauty about these campaigns, that we all come together, make sure that Asia Pacific is a resilient region. Next. So these are some of the members of Regional Coordinating Committee. You can see we have JICA, ADB, C40, ESCAP, and ICLE, of course, and UCLG ASPAC, UNDRR, UNDP, and several others as well. So the next slide. We also engage as part of the campaign the private sectors and specialist service providers. We are clear that the private sectors have certain role to play. To of course, support the effort made by cities and local governments. So these private sectors, provide along with resilient roadmap, cities will need to we need help to access the technical advisory services and that offered by private companies. Also, this SSPS can offer technical one-to-one advice to cities. They will also include a wide range of actors providing technical support to cities, including risk assessment, capacity development, and several other supports that they can provide, like include making a good synergies between this Sendai framework for action and of course SDGs and climate change scenarios as well. So there is also a registry will be made available in each of the 5 regions. So it's likely that most SSPS maybe will charge a fee for these services, but this, of course, it depends also on the needs of the cities. I think I consider this like coaching clinics, in which, depending on the needs, you will be able to find a support or good services from others. So the registry will be an online platform providing cities access to partners. Next, it's like a yellow page. So national government definitely is a key, and as well as association of municipalities. There are several associations of municipalities in our regions. They need to provide also support, not only on the advocacy, but also in providing support in scaling up impact of the MCR2030. We know, like in the Philippines, there is LCP. In Thailand, there is Thailand Municipal of League that have members of all local governments in the country. So we really look forward to having big support from the municipal associations in the countries as well. And of course, national governments will provide a guideline, and of course, supporting local governments in reaching this resiliency. So, and then of course, the partners of MCR2030 will include also relevant ministries at the national government level, especially those dealing with urban development issues. Like in Indonesia, we have also this national agency in charge of disasters. There is also a Ministry of Public Works. There is also another ministry dealing with environment and forest. So there is a need to engage relevant ministries at the national government level. Next. So this is us. Yes. Yes, so this is 2 examples of UCLG ASPAC members joining the MCR campaign. We have 52 cities joined last year. So in the next slide, we also had conducting advocacy and also introduce this MCR among partners here, including Indonesia and as well as in the Philippines, and also produce modules, training modules on this creating a resilient city. So this is just an example. Next, I think this is last slide. So this is the website. I hope you can immediately look at it now. And see how easy it is to be part of this MCR 2030. But what I really hope that it's not just joining and filling the the questions there, but also make sure that you show the progress and make sure also there is implementation whatever you are committed in this campaign, in this MCR 2030. So thank you very much. I really look forward to having all cities that are present here to join immediately after this this webinar. Thank you. Back to you, Steve.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bernadette. And I'm sorry to put the pressure on. There's a lot of detail to work through in the campaign, so that's fantastic. I've been keeping an eye on the Q&A, and I noticed there are a number of cities interested in signing up. I noticed there's also at least one organisation inquiring about how they could become a partner, so that's terrific. There were a couple of early questions just about the webinar. So to confirm, the webinar is being recorded, so that will include the presentations, and it will be put up on the events page. And the Q&A, the questions, most of the questions will be responded in writing also on the events page. But I would encourage some of the participants, if you see a question that you can answer right away by typing onto the Q&A page, that'll speed things up. Okay, now moving on to, we've seen the framework, we've seen what the program is all about. Now let's hear from 3 cities in our region, what they're actually doing on the ground. Our first speaker is a very good friend of mine and of Ickley's. It's Ms. Pramila Chandra. Pramila is the Senior Health Inspector at Nandi Town Council in Fiji. So Pramila, I know Fiji's got a lot of challenges right now. So over to you to tell us the story.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants, Mr. Gaula, Mr. Marco, Dr. Benadia, and all the speakers that are here on the webinar. So moving on to the next slide, I have a small introduction about Nandi Town Council's policy statement. Then my deliberations will be mostly on the guiding documents, building resilience, planning and policy changes to address risk, budgetary allocations, planned activities, and I have a small conclusion. So next slide, please. So we have a small policy statement in terms of disaster, and the following is to set the principles, set of principles that has been used to guide development of Nandi Town Council's disaster management plan. They're intended to guide its implementation, monitoring and evaluation, and ongoing development of the Nandi Town Council's disaster management, risk reduction, and resilience building as new and more pressing disasters evolve. So basically, it is to promote an integrated participatory approach in managing hazards, associated risks, and disasters. There is a very important need to empower our vulnerable communities to participate, like our previous speaker has said. A horizontal, vertical, and line is very important, how we communicate and train our people. So whether it's in response or recovery post-disaster. Next slide, please. So our vision is to have Nandi recognized as a clean and beautiful city that leads and innovates, values diversity, involves its community, and balances the needs of its citizens now and into the future. Our mission is to be Fiji's most livable city. Next slide, please. We have some aspirations, which is a clean, green future. So what we mean by a clean, green future is to involve our schools and communities while we do our part as a municipal council. We also involve our communities and schools in terms of backyard gardening, greening their compounds, doing composting, and supporting with the 3R activities. The second bullet point is a strong local economy. So as most of you would be knowing, Fiji and Nandi, we are deemed to be the tourist hub of the country. So it gives our locals opportunities to venture into SMEs and support themselves. Then we are also targeting a healthy lifestyle. You know, NCDs, CDs They are all contributing to what we are going through the pandemic at the moment. So a healthy lifestyle is very important. So we encourage our communities to use our recreational facilities that are available, and we continue to develop new recreational facilities that are funded by donor agencies within the communities. We try to take this to the communities instead of just having it in one corner. And then we would also like to see our communities to be resilient. They need to understand the local situations and topography. We need to plan and implement activities around them rather than imposing something that the community does not understand, and slowly they lose interest in sustaining the projects or the work that they need to do in order to become resilient. Next slide, please. Thank you. And we are also guided by the following documents, and I can see one of my participants, Mr. Tejas, is there. He would be part of most of these documentations because he was part of DRR Fiji office. So thank you, Tejas. We have the Fiji's National Adaptation Plan 2018. So basically this gives us a pathway towards climate resilience of the Fijian economy and its people. Then we have the nationally determined contribution implementation roadmap, which takes us into 2030. This sets the pathway for the emissions reduction target under the Paris Agreement. Then we have our Fiji's national climate change policy and the climate change bill. These policies serve to provide an overarching guidance to all sectors on climate change issues. And then we have the Fiji's low emission development strategy 2018 to 2015. It's a central goal for this document. It aims to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050 across all sectors of its economy. And the last one is the Fiji's national integrated waste management strategy. Sorry, it includes municipal solid waste, how we manage and how we treat our municipal solid waste, liquid waste, air pollution, hazardous waste, and chemicals. Then we have the Clean Up Pacific 2025. It's a regional document that gives us a way forward, not only in the country, but within the region as to how we are going to, it's a comprehensive blueprint for the region to help improve the management of waste and pollution until, and it gives us what directive from 2016 to 2025. It's a guiding document. Next slide, please. Building resilience, again, we have mentioned and we have seen other speakers. So Fiji is very prone to flooding and flash flooding. So our main concern at the moment is to integrate land and water resource management, planning using an integrated flood risk management approach to improve flood preparedness and management within the Nadi Basin. And for this, we need to raise awareness on flooding issues. We need to help our local communities and other stakeholders to improve their resilience to flood through an improved understanding of the river networking and floodplains, interlinking with other activities, and the model for the catchments and sharing the lessons. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, as we have seen with the previous speaker, there are a lot of donor agencies. So we have in this JICA, ADB, together with the government of Fiji in this project to alleviate flooding issues in Nadi. And the baseline study gives us a 50-year and 100-year simulation map of how the flooding will happen with improvement to the riverbanks and without improvements to the issues that were studied in the implementation in the baseline surveys. Next slide, please. So yeah, interlinking with other stakeholders is very important in resilience building based on the severity of the cyclones. Also, not only flooding, our cyclone Winston in 2016 was a category 5 cyclone. So now there is a requirement by the government of the day that every building development that takes place needs to comply with category 5 cyclone requirements when it comes to the safety of the buildings. And on top of that, the globe is now really inundated with the COVID pandemic. So that is plagued the world, and it has been filtered into our disaster management plans as it needs to factor. I think our second speaker, Mr. Kumar, he mentioned that how we can factor all these pandemics that were never known 2 years back, how we can factor it into our plans, resilience plans. Next slide, please. Then we have the planning and policy changes to address this risk. Our understanding of the 3 pillars is very important. One is the environment pillar, building resilience to climate change and disasters. And then it's waste management. We need to know the why, the how, the what, and then the sustainability of our islands and ocean resources. How do we manage them? Again, the why, how, what needs to be done. So people need to understand all these things in order to have a very sustainable environment. Then we have the social pillars, which is inclusive social development, whether it be social and moral support or the LGBT, how we are going to include them. I saw one of the comments on that. So yes, we do have an inclusive social development where we include all sorts of communities into our planning system. Then we talk about the food security, whether it's backyard gardening or whether it's plantations, because we are a small community, small country. We have land that is very hilly, then we have land that is near the coast. So we need to look at coastal intrusions, seawater intrusions into the coastal land, farm areas. So food security is very important for small nations like us. Then we have the freshwater resources and sanitation management. That is in terms of how we do our harvest and when do we leave them to do their spawning, especially with the fishes, the types of fishes that we eat, because originally we are in the Pacific and seafood is our best food. So we need to be mindful of how we preserve our freshwater resources as well. Next slide, please. The third pillar is the economic pillar. And we are very focused on the energy security, and then we need to know how we are getting it. Is it through renewable sources or fossil fuels? So that is very important. Then we need to see that transportation is sustainable, whether it be by land, sea, and air, and whether it is in remote areas that needs to be reachable in terms of emergencies, disasters, and how we can build better on that. Then the next one is technology, innovation, and development, which is talking about smart gadgets and connectivity. And then green tourism, of course, it's eco-friendly tourism. Next, okay. Then we are on budgetary allocation. Well, a portion of this budget comes from the council income. Most of it comes from either government funding or grants, international donor agencies, countries, and other government or NGOs, through NGOs. We have our international communities and families and friends supporting our small communities that are already here and they want to do some small projects, a water project or a latrine project for the community. So we have families and friends also supporting apart from what the municipal councils, what the government or what the NGOs are able to do. Next slide, please.
Pramila, you'll need to wrap up in a moment, please.
Yes, I have 2 more slides. Thank you. We have the planned activities. So basically it's community profiling. Our third or fourth speaker has talked about that. Education and awareness is very important. And then we need to do trainings in terms of conducting workshops to train these people. Again, implementation, how we are going to implement it. We can't give the communities something new which they don't understand about. So we need to implement things as it comes and to their understanding. Then we have empowerment, monitoring and evaluation and mitigation. Next slide, please. Basically, these were the natural disasters, 2 natural disasters that really shattered us. The first photo is about the flood in Nandi. This is basically, if you look properly, it touches the first floor level, almost the first floor level on the buildings right at the far end. And the second photo is TC Winston when it hit us in 2016. Next slide, please. Yes, I have concluded. What I need to say is basically in building disaster resilience, there is not one size that fits all, but it needs to cater for each type of disaster and how it affects the individuals, communities, district, and the nation. The many risks associated with it, such as loss of life, infrastructure damage, medical needs, demands, and the rise in both communicable and non-communicable diseases. So the impact it has on the government, whether it be environmental, social, or economic, therefore it is imperative to have a well-planned, inclusive, and easy to be guided document in building disaster resilience. Thank you, Steve.
Well, thank you, Pramila. That's very impressive. And I think we would agree that you're well underway with stage 2, which is plan better.
Yeah.
And yes, wish you well for the implementation, which is where the rubber hits the road. So very interesting. Need to move on. So our second city today is Incheon from the Republic of Korea, Incheon Metropolitan City. And we're very lucky to be hearing from Ms. Soo-jin Yoon, who's administrative official for the Safety Policy Division. So Soo-jin, over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Soo-jin Yoon from Incheon City, Republic of Korea. It is great pleasure for me to present Incheon's efforts to strengthen disaster resilience at the MCR2030 sign-up webinar. Before I start, I'd like to thank UNDRR, ICLEI, and everyone for this wonderful opportunity. And the next slide, please. In my presentation today, I'm going to introduce the city of Incheon and go over Incheon being recognized as the role model city, our journey towards urban resilience, and wrap up with the future plans. Next slide, please. Located an hour drive from the capital city, Seoul, Incheon is an industrial city and home to the Incheon International Airport, as well as the largest cruise and container terminal in Korea. Next slide, please. With 3 million population, about 11,000 companies are based in 11 industrial complexes across Incheon, and its GRDP is about 90 trillion Korean won. Due to high population density and busy industrial complexes, disasters have become larger in scale, occurring in more diverse forms. So the city government has strived to improve its resilience. Next, please. Incheon attracted UNDRR Onya and Gary in 2009 and joined the MCR campaign in 2013. And we have continued to work with Onya and Gary while making efforts to reduce disasters and conducting scorecard assessment, as well as research on urban resilience. Incheon won recognition as the UNDRR role model for a safe and smart city in January 2020. Next, please. Next. As the first ever smart city in Korea, Incheon manages disasters, traffic, crimes, and environmental pollution through intelligent CCTVs and IoT sensors 24/7, which are installed across the city and solve problems with the relevant authorities. Normally, Incheon Smart City provides public services for safety, transportation, and health, but in case of emergency, it responds to disasters through real-time monitoring on risk factors such as torrential rains. Next slide, please. We have continued to attract the international organizations responsible for climate change, sustainable development, and disaster risk reduction, such as GCF and UNOSD. And currently, 15 organizations are based in Incheon. Working closely with them, we are boosting synergy effect for the disaster reduction initiative. Next, please. Next, let me introduce our efforts for urban resilience. Incheon joins in implementing the action plans for ocean protection and established the construction regulations that allow pre-reporting during excavation works. Incheon carries out zero energy building project and received the LEED and D certification. Furthermore, we have the excellent COVID-19 quarantine system in place. In fact, Incheon is where drive-through testing was proposed for the first time, and we run the system that ensures testing, quarantine, and disinfection are all completed within 24 hours. In particular, the lab of Incheon Institute of Public Health and Environment has handled the biggest number of sample tests among its counterparts in Korea. And Incheon has shown the lowest case load in the Greater Seoul area, faring well in the citizen survey on COVID-19 response. Next, please. Next, fire station is a very critical organization to respond to not only fire incidents, but also all kinds of everyday emergencies. So the city government has kept expanding the manpower and budget that build new fire stations. With that, we have reduced the number of fires per firefighters, the number of fire-related casualties, and the initial arrival time of fire engines at the scene, thereby mitigating the impact of disasters on the people. Next, please. Next. For updated and risky facilities prone to disasters, we run the safety inspection program called Help Me and install more intelligent CCTVs for early detection for risk factors in daily life. The Disaster Control Center, running on the ICT-based disaster control system, serves as a control tower for disaster management. About 16,000 CCTVs installed by the city government, free economic zero authority, and public enterprises are all integrated. And this enables us to monitor disaster situations and immediately notify emergencies to its responsible authorities. Also, we made the Relief in mobile app available for the citizens to respond to emergency situations on their own. Next, please. Next. In order to share our knowledge and efforts regarding disaster reduction with our cities, we organized the field trips in connection with the UNDR Getty training programs and participate in various workshops and conferences. Please refer to the slide for more details. And then next slide. Incheon tries to reflect the MCR on its policy and continues to carry out workshops and policy research to expand the MCR to smaller municipalities. In 2019, the city government and Getty signed the MOU to enhance school safety education program and has since promoted DRR and resilience education at schools every year. This has gained positive response from students and teachers. And then lastly, future plans. Next slide, please. Incheon will strengthen its capacity for DRR by holding seminars and workshops and inviting disaster-related private organizations while expanding the school safety program more widely. Not only that, Incheon will serve as the resilience hub of MCR2030. Incheon will do its best to share its experiences with other cities for the MCR2030 to be successful. And the next slide. This is the end of my presentation of Incheon's efforts to enhance disaster resilience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, my camera is a bit slow. Thank you very much, Sujin. That was a very good presentation. And we were very interested in your slides. I noticed there's been a couple of questions from participants as to whether they'll be able to see the slides from both yourself and from Nandi afterwards. So I'm sure you can see the recorded webinar, but we'll also look separately at making slides available. Sorry, I'm on and off here. Right. Congratulations to Incheon. You're a real leader city, and we heard that you were a role model city as well for the earlier Making Cities Resilient campaign. And we'd like to go into another role model city, which is the city of Surat in India. We're going to hear from Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik, who's the City Resilience Officer from Surat. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. And it's my pleasure, to be among you. And first and foremost, I must thank UNDRR, UCLG, ICLEI for introducing, one of the finest initiative in recent time, MCR2030. And on behalf of our mayor, I compliment you for taking this initiative, and I promise on behalf of our city that not only we will join, but very proactively we will participate in this initiative. Now, as we all know, the global risk reports, formulated by many agencies, they talk about climate change as one of the major challenge to our cities. And what we noticed recently in terms of COVID-19, that we are very, very vulnerable. All our systems, especially in emergency response, governance, early warning, disease forecasting, and public health care, they are basically very vulnerable. And what we want need a collective action and a paradigm shift in our approach to manage these multiple crises. That's what actually we want. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about, experience, with our city. Now, Surat city is situated on the western India in the state of Gujarat and having a population of 60 lakhs, that is 6 million people are staying in this city. And climate change is a major challenge in our city. And as we know, that climate change is not an isolated issue. Actually, it impacts, it has a linkages with science and technology, economy, trade, diplomacy, and politics. So this has to be managed in a very, very collective manner. And what we have done in Surat, it is exactly what is told to us by our national government. Now, as we know, India was one of the first city to declare in Mexico their plan to set up a disaster risk reduction plans. And India, as we know, it is among the most disaster prone country. And out of 29 states we have, 27 states, including the state of Gujarat, it is exposed to recurrent natural hazards like cyclones, earthquakes, landslides, floods, and drought. And climate change and environmental degradations, it is further compounding the frequency and intensity of this disaster. And it is increasing the vulnerability of our people. So what actually we want, we need a very holistic integrated approach of DRR, that is this risk reduction and climate change adaptation. This has to be holistically integrated. Otherwise, it has both economic impact as well as social impact. And I will specifically cite the economic impact of our city, which last 100 years we have had 25 notable floods. And in the year 2006, we had a very historic flood because, we are a delta city. It's a coastal city situated, on Arabian Sea, the coast of Arabian Sea, and a river is passing through this. So flood is a major challenge. And we are a economic hub of Western India because, 90% of the world's diamonds are cut and polished in this city, and 50% of India's textile production takes place in this city. So it is, essentially the economic hub of India and very, very vulnerable. So the economic impact of this disaster, both, in terms of short and long-term economic development, as well as, future economic growth, that is also compromised because of this. So we have experienced it, and a city collectively, work towards it. And what we have worked, we are a member city of 100 resilient cities, that is Resilient Cities Network, now known as. And under this 100 Resilient Cities program, we have defined our own urban resilience strategy. And this strategy, it talks about water resilience, mobility resilience, housing, environment degradation, economic resilience, social resilience, and public health. So we have effectively worked in these 7 sectors, and we have defined our urban resilience document. And this city, we do have a socio-economic vulnerability and physical vulnerability. And local municipal corporation, that is Surat municipal corporations, have defined its, like a flood management plan. It is a regular plan every year in the month of May and June. Surat municipal corporation invites all the stakeholders of the city, be it academia, be it NGO, be it industry, be it elected representative. Everyone comes together and discuss the plans based on earlier experiences. And this particular plan is revised every year. Now, flood is a major threat. And what have we done to manage the flood? So Surat city, situated, as I said, at the tail end of the river, and this Tapi river, it is subject to moderate to heavy flood frequency, mainly because of rainfall in the catchment area. And what we have done to minimize the impact of flood at Surat city, we have taken certain preventive measures, and a flood reduction plan has been prepared and discussed. And what are the preventive remedial measures we have carried out? First and foremost is the end-to-end early warning system. It is a model which is prepared, and it is a very soft action we have taken in writing early warning system. It prevents, it gives us higher respite time when the flood is going to come. And see, we have to know how to live with the flood. So what we have done is early warning system, a model prepared by us and used on a regular basis. Then, we have a reservoir. So the policy, the operational policy of reservoir, we are, based on our experience, we are revising it every year, and release of water from the dam. So this 3 constitute our preventive remedial measures. And essentially, for the flood reduction plan, we have carried out various activities. First and foremost is a desilting of reservoir, because over the years, the capacity of the reservoir decreases. So we need a desiltation regularly. Secondly, increasing the carrying capacity of river Tapi, again by desiltation. Then storm water drainage, that is very, very important. We are running them, lines are running parallel to our river, giving us a better result. The construction of flood protection wall. We have already created a wall in the city which will protect us from the flood. Then one of the finest initiative, local municipal corporation is giving. It is giving subsidy, and it gives incentive to whosoever is introducing water recharging. So our groundwater is replicated. Our groundwater is very, very fresh. And every time, during the monsoon, we ensure that it is mandatory, and municipal corporations not only sees that water recharging are made, but we do carry out regular audit also. So that's another exercise which we have done it. Then spreading of flood water on saline soil. So we try to divert the flood water on a saline soil, because we are very near to sea. So a lot of salinity intrusion is a major challenge. So we try to see that whenever there is a flood, we try and spread this water on a saline soil. We also divert the flood water to other rivers, because Tapi is a main river and there are many tributaries. So we already have a plan, connected rivers in the surrounding area. So whenever there is a flood in the main river, we divert this flood to other rivers. Then, we are also constructing flood detention reservoir in the city. So there are many bodies are constructed, water bodies are constructed in the city, which helps us. Then, like we have another disaster management plan for the citizen.
Hello, boy.
Yeah. And this is, like preparation of a map which shows a high flood level mark. So citizens know if we are going or if we are buying any property in that area, they know the highest flood level mark. At the same time, a reference map is also prepared, which helps, rescue and relief operation. And then also we have a flood hazard mapping using GIS. So these are some of the management techniques, which we have used for a disaster risk. And the priority is, what we see, as told by earlier speakers also, that understanding disaster risk is a major challenge. Strengthening disaster risk governance to manage disaster risk is another issue. That is effective disaster management and climate change adaptation. It requires very legislative and a policy framework. So that is also one of the priority. And cost of not doing is much more than cost of doing something. So investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience is another priority for our city. And enhancing disaster preparedness for effective response, coming back better in recovery, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So these are the priorities, which are identified by our city. And in tune with
Just about out of time. Thank you.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I think with this, I'll end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kamlesh. And I'm sorry to rush you, but we all have such a story to tell. And certainly it's interesting, Surat's history, moving from climate change resilience to 100 resilient cities to making cities resilient. You're certainly coming in from all possible angles. So a great leader. Okay, we're now going to go up a notch. We've heard a little bit from the cities about the importance of aligning their actions with national frameworks and national legislation. And we now have a speaker from Indonesia, from the Indonesian National Disaster Agency, the BNPB. And I think there's been a last minute change. So I think I'm now about to introduce Mr. Pratomo Nugroho from the BNPB to speak about the Indonesian national government's approach to disaster risk reduction. Do we have Mr. Pratomo? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Steve. Okay, very good day for all participants and panelists. Very good morning, good afternoon, good Excellency Mr. Steve Gabler, Mr. Marco Toscano Ripalta, Mr. Emani Kumar, and Dr. Bernadia. I am Pratomo Nugroho from NDMA Indonesia. I'm sorry, my deputy, Mr. Aditya Jati, and my director, Mr. Agus Wibowo, cannot join in this workshop. We give big appreciate this workshop for ICLE, UNDRR, ECHO, and I want presentation about role of national government in urban resilience in Indonesia. Okay, resilient city district in Indonesia is called cities and districts that are able to withstand, absorb, adapt to, and recover from the effect of disaster in a timely and efficient manner, while retaining basic structure and function. Incorporate global commitment into national agenda, such as SDGs, SFDR, Paris Club, and Financial for Development, integrate into a midterm national development plan 2020 until 2024, DM Master Plan 2020 until 2044, and DM National Plan 2020 and until 2024. Resilient Indonesia, we know we have adaptive capacity, coping capacity, and bounce back better. Governance and disaster management measurement through Indonesian Disaster Risk Index, we call IRBI. We have IRBI 2013 and until 2020. We have a decrease 9.45%. We have a strategy internalize the agenda or disaster risk reduction and disaster management and national into a local development plan. We have in national, we have DM Master Plan 2020 until 2044. And we have DM National Plan 2020 until 2024. In the local, we have a local disaster risk assessment and we have a disaster risk index. We integrate into municipal spatial planning and into a local DM plan. We have integrate to until national development in district and cities. This is a picture interconnection between DM plan and the in development system. Is a DM plan. This is DM plan in national, DM plan in province, and DMM in district and cities. This is development, national development in national, province, district, and cities. MCR in making city resilient in Indonesia, the implementation of MCR in Indonesia has been started since 2011. It was piloted with LGSET, local government self-assessment tool. Every year, more and more municipalities join the implementation. In 2016, the first province in the world, Central Japan province, declared the commitment. The declare was led by the governor of Central Japan, Java province, followed by 34 municipalities in Central Java. This is a assessment resilient city in Indonesia 20 until 2020. This is mapping MCR Indonesia 2011 until 2020. MCR campaign in Central Java, the governor of Central Java together with local actor in municipal in Central Java had commitment to build resilience in their area. They also built a network for resilient city in Monogiri 27 November 2015. Cilacap, their collaboration project between BNPB and UNDRR funded by European Union and Cilacap Regional Action Plan document is created during the project. The project is part of DRR-based development internalization to the region and related stockholder. Research for scorecard 3040 in Cilacap held by 2017. During pandemic COVID-19 in early 2020, the pandemic COVID challenged all government bodies and disaster management need to adapt to emergence of COVID-19. UNDRA released a new tool with the addendum for COVID-19. Indonesia success to do a pilot project in 4 municipalities with health addendum. We had a score set assessment with public health addendum in 4 cities, Samarinda cities, Semarang city, Lumajang district, and Badung district. BNPB created a manual for scorecard assessment in Base Indonesia to help accelerator and stakeholder in the discussion process. It is also consists of translation on the scorecard tool. This book can be a checklist or guideline in design DRR program in local area. This result book for cities and district and Samarinda, Semarang, Lumajang, and Badung. Indonesia NDMA registered in it is a service in the MCR2030 website to enlink the coverage of the support from national government. Scorecard tool in Bahasa Indonesia is also available in the state service. This is mechanisms commitment to making city resilient 2030 in Indonesia. The local governments and later the direction of state strategic development BNPB. And then reply letter including the prospect and schedule for audience, and then support local government to do city state assessment the Making City Resilient website, and then we can do audience with local leader and then choosing partner and facilitator for further technical activities. We avoid to join MCR campaign, and then we do a detailed assessment for a scorecard, making city resilient, and we have a tool assessment and Indonesian version with SPDAB, and then we do a development action plan and action plan implementation, and into we integrate into development, national development, and regional development. Roll up for making city resilient 2013, Bali Promotion for MCR 2030 roll up. This will be a pilot project on how national government engage local government to join MCR with a new scheme. In this case, we emphasize the role of the government in between national and municipal level. This pilot is also part of the road to GPDRR 2022 that will be held in Bali. The national government encourage active participation to join MCR campaign, and Kota Makassar City has a share it is interested to join MCR campaign. BNPB engage debate siap siaga to support 500 municipalities in MCR 2030 campaign. Key lesson, active communication between a national government with local government, political will, major and region, collaboration between national government with other participants or the stakeholder with Pentahelic, with Pentahelic, NGOs, academici, business sector, media. By forward MCR in Indonesia 2021, all municipalities, city and regional in Bali province participate in MCR. And then 2024, all provinces and several municipalities, city and regional in Indonesia has committed to MCR and implemented the program. And 2030, we hope all municipalities, city and government in Indonesia join our MCR program. Upcoming event, the target participant MCR, the local government in Bali province. The target output is understand of MCR roll up and the role of local level government to join the campaign. Future challenge, the paradigm of disaster risk reduction is still understood in essence, but only response. The area of Indonesia is very wide, which causes a unique challenge in disaster management, especially in terms of stability. Disaster disrupt economic growth, a target reduce welfare. The threat, the future disaster is increasing due to climate change and emergency risk. And the population exposure to the threat of disaster is very large and growing urbanization and increasing demand for land. Disaster management plan, DM plan, contingency plan, recovery plan is still limited and has not been implemented properly, partly as a document, not yet integrated with regional planning. Special policies that are sensitive to DRR have not yet been fully implemented. Disaster event can be triggered by environmental problem, environmental degradation. Infrastructure development can create a new risk if it is not adjusted with a good disaster risk planning and management. Lack of financial in local area, and then the implementation of disaster management by multiple stakeholders has not been planned and integrated as effective. Cross-sectoral and institution coordination. Okay, the finish of my presentation, and thank you very much.
Okay, terima kasih, Pak. That was very interesting and right on time, so we appreciate that. Very important that cities understand the national frameworks that they're operating within. What's great in your presentation is to see how the Indonesian national government understands the importance of working with cities, so that's a very good model. And our final presentation, other than some details on how to join the campaign, comes from an even broader perspective, and that is, how does disaster risk reduction fit into the broader challenge of building urban resilience? So for this last presentation, we're going to hear from Mr. David Zappa. He is thematic expert on disaster preparedness for an organisation with a very long name, Directorate General for European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, or DG ECHO, and he's based in the Regional Office for East, Southeast Asia and the Pacific. So David, over to you.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning, good afternoon to all partners and colleagues. We are really thankful for the opportunity to share some learning available to DG ECO with you today. Obviously, our discussion happens at times of ever-increasing global humanitarian needs. And as you know better than me, these are driven by conflict, population growth, fragility, and climate change. So in this background, it's really crucial that better preparing for future risks in urban settings, where obviously these risks are complex and as driven by multi-layer hazard, is urgent. This is why urban preparedness is one of the 4 global priorities that DG ECO disaster preparedness budget line, which is active for 2021-2024, will address. And this is very much well captured in our policy definition, as well as in some learning that we have available and we can obviously make available to all of you as part of this conversation. DG ECO is a principled humanitarian donor. Therefore, every single policy that informs our action is based on lessons learned that we gather through our partners, working with communities living in needs at risk. And although we are a global donor, we would like to draw your attention today on 3 key learnings that we have gathered in our shared Asia-Pacific region. So firstly, we have early but encouraging evidence that investment to prepare for all types of hazards, natural as well as human-induced threats, as per each context specification, pay dividends. We all have had hesitation in the past about working in urban, but we know that this approach delivers in both urban and in a rural setting. Let me just share an example with you. For example, building on a project that we financed together with the local government units in Metro Manila called Move Up, we invested in the capacity to closely monitor flood-prone areas which are active not only in Manila, but also in other areas like the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. And in October 2020, you probably remember Typhoon Molave, when Pagasa, the Philippines Forecasting Agency, predicted the heavy rains over Cotabato City, DG ECO partners together with local authorities were prepared to act early based on these preparedness investments. Once the pre-agreed trigger was reached, preemptive cash payouts were issued to vulnerable households living in the flood-prone areas. For Mrs. Babo Kaji Guiara Guligan, this meant, for example, despite not being able to work, to be able to buy rice for her family. Flooding also interrupted Mrs. Babo's capacity to work in 2019, the previous year, when she had to borrow 3,000 Filipino pesos, which took her 8 months to pay back. Differently than in 2019, in 2020, Mrs. Babo did not have to borrow cash at higher rate to do that. As a result, she saved at least 300 pesos in interest repayments. Secondly, a people-centered approach with strengthened local capacity for response in urban settings calls for new ways of partnering. Several of the speakers today have reinforced this. It's really crucial to develop comprehensive partnership because these are required by the complex set of opportunities and challenges posed by cities. And in our experience, it's really paramount that any preparedness investment is anchored in urban government administration systems whenever and wherever possible. And these systems, these investments need to be both integrated and complementing each other. As I said before, for DG ECO, humanitarian action starts with those who are affected in their communities. Prioritizing the impact of crisis on people, including their lives and livelihoods, means that preparedness and response capacity must be close to where people need it most. This is why DG ECO has been working with our partners to support the development of policy and tools with central governments that can then utilize to support their urban level administration. This is about including people who are in need and at risk in preparing for and acting early, so that they can participate in the design of the assistance and services they need most. By doing this, we can harness local knowledge and collaboration with the private sector, community, and any other actor which is best positioned at a given time in a specific place to make people safer and better prepared. For example, DG ECO supported the government of Bangladesh to define and support their urban community vulnerable management guidelines, which enhances the culture of volunteerism, which is an integral part of the Bangladeshi people identity. And as a result of this investment, over 47,400 people are now skilled urban community volunteers. These are everyday people who live in the same neighborhoods where, by being prepared and for any type of crisis, they are also delivering services to those who are most vulnerable in their communities. And this is all done in close collaboration with administration services. For example, keeping community risk assessment processes updated, as well as enhancing mass awareness at local level. Lastly, as a third key lesson, inclusive policies that comprehensively protect vulnerable and at-risk populations so that they're better prepared to withstand shocks and crises whenever they decide is best systematized within urban disaster risk management plans. For example, Nepal, which is one of the top 10 fastest urbanized countries in the world, we know that unplanned growth and cost to adhere to national building codes mean that many Nepali urban dwellers live in at-risk locations. This is why preparedness for mass casualty management investments, which, for example, DG ECO financed to better manage multiple trauma care in the hospitals of the Kathmandu Valley, have saved lives during the Gorkha 2015 earthquake response. And these very systems are now continuing to save lives at times of multiple COVID-19 waves sadly affecting Nepal. Building on this learning, earthquake contingency plan for the western region of Nepal has been defined jointly with the government of Nepal and the humanitarian country team. And through enhanced understanding of all sections of population, local DR governance is very much proven to be that an inclusive approach which reflects different needs and risks that affect different people and groups that live in the city is the best way to go forward. Let me conclude our statement today with the reflection that it must be clear that the devil is in the details, and we must continue focusing on what works and what doesn't, as we have been discussing this morning. For example, ASEAN member states have posed quite a lot of investment to respond to the socioeconomic challenges of COVID-19. And this has been a really, truly sincere of global relevance, especially in cities. This is very much the evidence that we need to continue gathering and the practice that we need to continue replicating across Asia Pacific and across places and cities like Cotabato and Mindanao, where the local government unit has allocated over 2 million Filipino pesos of their own disaster risk management fund for the creation of alternative transitional shelter. On that note, I would like to thank you once again for your attention, and good afternoon to everyone once again.
Thank you very much, David. That was a very good way to finish our program, I think, in the sense that we've gone from looking at disaster resilience to much broader urban resilience, and some of the principles and the lessons learned that we all need to embrace to be prepared for the unexpected. We've also gone from looking at city level action to the importance for alignment with national level action. So I think it's been a very good journey over the last hour and a half. Now we have one more very important little segment at the end, and this is going to be provided by the Program Management Officer from UNDRR, the Getty Institute, from Ms. Mutarika, or Mai Pruksapong. And Mai is going to be just showing us how the MCR 2030 can be joined up to. So she's going to show us how to sign up to the MCR 2030 for the cities, and also how the dashboard works and how partners can join in. This will probably take about 10 minutes, so we are going over time, but we think it's going to be highly valuable. So over to you, Mai.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. I will try to be very concise, but I would like to walk you through anyhow the sign up process and how you can join the MCR 2030 and access the online dashboard. Here, I will be focusing more on the joining of the local governments. And even though the terms here we are using is the cities, we actually do welcome any subnational level authorities, including municipalities, states, districts, provinces, and many more. The step is very simple. We classify it in a broader term, 3 steps. Firstly, the cities will have to take the state assessments and prepare the letter of commitment, then move on to create the account on the MCR 2030 dashboard. And lastly, to complete the city profiles on the dashboard before utilizing the dashboard functions. Now let's take a look at the first step. Here, if you go to this website that is appearing on the screen, and we'll be dropping also on the chat box, you'll be accessing the stage assessment page on the MCR 2030 website. It's a simple set of 15 questions with a yes and no answer. And if you scroll down the page, you also will see the state assessment is available also in different other languages for your reference. And once you complete the assessment, you'll be brought into the result page that you can discover the stage that your city is at, whether it's stage A, B, and C of the resilience roadmap. Then you can download the letter of commitment here that you can obtain the signatory from your mayors. It's worth noting, though, that if your city has been the participant of the previous campaign in 2010 to 2020, you're not required to resubmit this letter of commitment, as well as the city certified with the ISO 37123 on resilient cities indicators can use the ISO certification in replacement of this letter of commitment. Once you have those ready, decide among yourself within the cities who will be the one signing up and create the account on the dashboard. It can be anyone from your local government office, but once the person has been decided, the person will be responsible to create the account, and later on will be able to add as many of the local government officers in this dashboard space so that you can fully utilize the dashboard functions. Now you're ready to create the dashboard for your cities. Go to the MCR 2030 dashboard at mcr2030dashboard.undr.org. It's the online closed space developed only for the cities and participating entities joining MCR 2030. And once you go into this dashboard page, on the top right-hand corner, there is a language drop down. You can actually switch and change the interface of this dashboard into many other languages available here. Simply select local governments and click next. You'll be asked here to confirm that no one else from your local government has signed up to the dashboard. If there was anyone else who had already signed up, make sure that you coordinate with the person to get access and do not create the account again, because it will duplicate your city profile on the dashboard. And if you are the first one, you confirm that no one else has signed up, just simply click no and move forward into the step. You'll be asked to log on with the Prevention Web account. Prevention Web account is actually the account that you can use to access many of the UNDRR related portals. And so if you already have such an account, you can use the credentials to log in here right away. But if you don't, you can just simply register now and follow the steps, and you will be sent a confirmation email to your mailbox. Just make sure that you check your spam mailbox as well. And in that email, you will find the link to activate your account. Just click that link, just proceed forward to activate the account. Then you'll be prompted to make the linkage between this Prevention Web account and the dashboard. Just simply click authorize here. Then now there you go. You will now start to fill in the basic information about your city on the dashboard. The questions are simple. So firstly, just tell us the city, the country, the state and province, and also the name of your local governments. If the names of the states and province and local governments are not showing on the drop-down list, just don't worry. You can just click not in the list, and you can manually enter the name of your state and your city here. And make sure that you do it in sequence from country to state and to the city here in this step. Then give us some more answer whether you were the participant of the previous MCR campaign. Tell us what's the current population in your city. Then also provide whether you are the certified ISO 37123 certified city, yes or no. And then tell us the stage of your resilience roadmap here. This is where you input the result of the stage assessment that you have taken in the step before. And so that we know the stage of your resilience roadmap here, and you will be able to discover a lot of the service that matching your stage. Then you will be asked to upload the letter of commitment and tell us who actually endorsed that letter of commitment as the reference. Proceed to review. If there is any information you need to edit, just click edit. If not, then read the privacy policy, terms and condition, and check the box I agree, and then click join. And there go, congratulations, you now have the dashboard account for your city. You also have the option to go right into the dashboard and start using it. But we do recommend you to actually go a step further into completing your city profile. Why is it necessary? It's because if you are providing the city details, it will help participating entities and any other user of the dashboard understand more about your city, what your needs are, what are you actually working on, and so that it will enhance the possibility of you being able to connect it to these participating entities or connect with other cities to exchange on this area of interest. There are also groups of simple questions. Firstly, about the city description. Just tell us here what city is actually doing, what your needs are, what you are looking for. First box, you can describe everything in English so that it's globally understood by user across the group. And then you have the second option to also provide the similar information in your own language. So this will enhance also the interaction between yourself and other cities that are speaking in the same language as you. Then you will be asked also whether your city is a capital city or not. If you can input also the city name in your local language, you also will be able to provide the website that user can directly connect to your local government and learn more about yourself. There will be questions also asking for you to tell us a little bit more of the population change over the last year. The question asking also the area of focus you are doing this year. To identify also the type of hazards your city has been experiencing in the past 10 years, and also the awareness tools that you have been using to increase awareness and connect with your citizen in resilience building. And that's it. That's all the information that we are asking for the city to provide, and complete the profile on the dashboard. You can always come back and make corrections of it. And now you're ready to access the dashboard for the first time. Now, instead of going through this PowerPoint, let me pop up the live view of the current dashboard. Here, if you're logging on as a city, you will be able to see exactly the page I'm showing you now. At the top, it will be showing the stage of your city, A, B, or C, your progress. You will also be able to see the overview of how many cities, how much population has been covered, the PA cities in the same stage as you. You'll be able to see the map of the overview of everything, the movement of the cities over time. You also can click the map to see also the picture within the country, how many cities in the country has been joining. Here in this section is actually very particular to your city because it provides you the descriptions of what stage you are. You can also go to different links to find more information about the stage. There is also this card box to remind you that if you are in this stage, this is what you need to continue to do. You also can click help to see different insights provided by other cities and the services available to help you to complete the steps and move forward on the resilience roadmap. You can always click back to the dashboard here. You can also share experience, what you have done, and the lesson learned that you have had in completing the steps, so that it will be useful for other cities to learn about and can showcase your progress on the dashboard as well. You can also see different partners, different cities joining the dashboard. If you're interested in, for example, in nature-based solutions, you can also click and see which other cities are actually interested in the same topic And then you can start to initiate the contact with them, because in each of the partners and the cities page, you will have an option to send the email to them. So you can directly contact them and foster the collaboration. You also have the shortcut on the left side to be able to filter and see the services that is matching to different stages. You can also filter them by the type of the service, whether it's grant loans, education, etc., the themes of the service, where the service is available, and etc. You can also browse the cities in the MCR, different partners providing service in your countries, edit your city details, you can add your team members, and many more features will also be added to this dashboard later on. One last function that I would want to highlight to you is that here under the map, if you actually click the region and specify the country, you also can see the progress of that country. In this case, I'm showing you the case of Indonesia. We'll see how many cities in the country have signed up, which stage they are, who they are. We also have the National Government Office, BNPB, also have joined MCR 2030. And they also can list different guidance and service that can be provided to the cities. And also you can see also who else in the country that have joined as a participant entity and then providing the service to the cities in Indonesia, in your country. So there are many features that you can use in the dashboard, and we encourage that you actually join MCR campaign, MCR 2030, and actually maximize the benefits of what you can find on this dashboard. And for the participating entities, the joining is also similar. We also provide the step-by-step guides for you, and we'll be dropping the link in the chat box. If you have any inquiry, don't hesitate to reach out to any of the secretariats that is in your region. And thank you very much, and we look forward to see you more interactions in the MCR 2030 dashboard. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mai. That was an excellent and very clear walk through the system. I noticed there were a couple of questions in the chat function about getting a form letter for the mayoral commitment, those have been answered right away. There was also a question whether an NGO can sign up to the campaign. Do you want to answer that one straight away?
Yes, sure. The MCR 2030 welcome basically anyone who is not the individuals. So if you belong to any legally established entity, whether it's national government offices, NGOs, academia, media, private sector, service providers, anything, network, you can also join MCR 2030 as the participating entities. We have the whole list of description provided in the step-by-step guide. And we're happy to share the links in the chat box for your further reference.
All right, thank you very much for that. So that's the end of our session. I'd like to commend all of our attendees for your patience, because I notice nearly everyone is still with us. So I think that's just testament to how useful and interesting this entire program has been. So thank you very much to all of our speakers. Thank you and congratulations to all of our attendees. I think we got close to 400 people at one point. And speaking on behalf of ICLEI, we're certainly looking forward to partnering with UCLG and UNDRR to help to roll out the MCR 2030. My own office is already working with the Pacific chapter of UNDRR to look for ways of scaling this up across all of the Pacific countries, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So congratulations, thank you all. I hope the session answered all of your questions, and I hope everyone has a very good rest of the day or evening or morning. And that's it from me. Goodbye.